Good evening and welcome to Let's Talk Shop with Russ. We're back again for a good time. And tonight we've got Shelly Cole, and she's going to be talking about her SADUSDO tonight. And we're going to be learning one of her recipes. She has a couple of recipes in the way she does it, but she's going to show us one of them that she has, especially here tonight. So that ought to be good. Don't have a lot of anything to say other than, let me get my notes, put them back here. Don't forget about the website giveaway, and we will be, guys on the panel, don't let me forget, and y'all out there in the chat too. Oh, let me get the chat back up. I'm over here, I got Facebook going, so okay, chat's back up, but don't forget about the website giveaway. DeVoble's giving away through me a website. If you want information to that, go to simplywoodencreations.com. Go across the menu bar over there to it's not comp challenges. You just hover over that and it'll open up and you'll see the 2018 giveaway or giveaways, and hover over that and you'll go right over there and find out all the information. It will be tonight, and the 10th and the 17th are the last two nights for the secret words. And then on the 24th, we will actually have the announcement and the giveaway. I'm hoping Frank Condon, the owner of DeVoble, will be able to be with us that night, give away the website. So if you want that information on how to win a website, go to simplywoodencreations.com, hover across over to challenges. When you hover over that, it'll open it up and it'll say giveaway. Then you go over to the 2018 giveaway, and that's where all the information is. I could read it all off, but we'd spend like 10 or 15 minutes doing that. And all you got, most of y'all know that watch me and are out there watching now. Most of y'all know about it anyways. Y'all are just hanging around out there for the secret word. I know why you're here. No, I'm just kidding. You know, y'all enjoy watching me, and I enjoy y'all being out there. Matter of fact, let's go ahead, and Michelle Marcoux is out there. Paul John's Life is out there. Ken McCroy. Hi, Ken. Dave Hart. Katie Dotson. All y'all are out there in the chat, and I appreciate that very much. James Parker. Just scanning back through to see who's out there. But those are all the ones that are in the chat that I see at this very moment. I know there's probably more of you out there. So just chat away and I'll look over there. And that's the first part. The second part is my wonderful sponsors, and they are DeVoble Technologies. For web design, development, and hosting, visit devoble.com. Great people to work with, and they did my website and some of the people that are on the Panel Nights website. FastCap, innovative products for the professional woodworkers. Go to fastcap.com. FastCap has the 2P10 kits and the 2P10 glue. And I want to tell you, I use it. You can see it. It's on my workbench, and I use it all the time. It's great for pins. I use it on pins. I use it on the pin finishes. I use it for everything around the shop. And I mean, it's just fantastic. I got some bottles here. I got some bottles on another workbench over there, and I got some bottles out there. So use it all the time. Love their 2P10. They got a lot of great products, but I really use a lot of the 2P10. Also, Rockler, 60 years in woodworking, create with confidence. Visit rockler.com. Bearwood Supply Company, your best choice for hard-to-find woodworking supplies. Go to bearwood.com. They are the official scroll saw blade supplier, which is the Pegasus Blades for Scrolling with Russ over on Twitch TV and Simply Wooden Creations. So they're the official supplier of the Pegasus scroll saw blades. Some really great blades. So, and they have a lot of other things, clop parts and all other kind of stuff. Klingspor, the sandpaper, or no, sanding, I don't know why I keep on wanting to say sandpaper specialist. The sanding specialist, go to woodworkingshop.com. They have a lot of great tools over there. Other than just sandpaper, they sell wood lathe tools, wood lathes, bandsaw blades, bandsaws, you name it, they have a lot. Visit all these guys, buy something from them, and tell them Russ sent you. I sure would appreciate that. All right, we got that out of the way, and we talked about the website giveaway. other than I just want to touch base on what I've been doing. Yeah, this is a self-brag moment. I'm sorry, but I'm an amateur turner, and just by the stroke of luck with some things that have been going on lately, especially the Carter hollowing system with the multi-rest, that thing is absolutely, I'm going to do some videos on that. And I've got to get some videos out there because I've got these tool companies breathing down my neck going like, we've given you stuff now. Where's the videos? I know that's coming. So anyway, but these are a few of the things that I've turned this week. And it would not be possible without the Carter hollower and the hollowing system. So it just makes it so you're saying, well, I can do that with conventional tools. Yes, you're right. You can. But I can do it like with one finger. I mean, this thing, you literally hollow out a bowl with your finger. That's how easy it is. I would not be willing for my grandson, as young as he is, pin turning and stuff like that. Yeah, but I would let him hollow out a bowl with this system. It's just like, wow, it's really fantastic. But anyway, this is something that I turned. This was a live edge. It has some bark on this side, and the way the limb was cut down over here, and then it had a big crack that started. Now this is natural crack that I was thinking at any moment this kind of thing is, because it goes all the way through to the inside, that this thing is going to explode on me, and it didn't. It held through. And then this is another one I turned this week. That knot was a little challenge. It kept on wanting to give me a little bit of problem, but playing around. And then this I turned this weekend. Started out over the weekend and turned this. Now, I call it piffy. Ken said it's punky. But this gave me a real hard time. Hello. I can hear my echo in there. Hello. Give me a real hard time. This one side especially was real piffy or punky or whatever. And I don't know if you can see it, but you can see how it wanted to do. And this actually started like at almost 3 or 4 inches taller. But the splits in the top, which I was hoping I could get around, I wanted this to come out into a shape and come like a lot taller and over and back down. But I just kept on splitting, kept on flying apart. So finally I just pulled it off and just sawed it off and got it down where I felt that I could make it. There's one little hairline crack in here that I was really worried was going to let loose. But yeah, that's right. Here, that's a crack. But really dry walnut. Ken, you said you've turned some walnut, and you don't like turning it. You want to talk about that for a second? You said that when it gets piffy or punky, you have a hard time with it too.
You talking to me, Russ?
Yes. Yes, okay. I'm talking to you.
I was paying attention to my dog down here. Sorry.
I'm gonna reach through here and smack it at that head. Yeah, we were talking earlier about this, and you said the walnut's one of those woods when it gets piffy or punky like that, it's really nasty to mess with.
It's nasty to turn. It's nasty to sand. You can't get the sanding marks out of it. Oh man, it's right next to maple for me to turn. I don't like it.
Yeah, well, it worked out pretty good for me. So you know. But there is one place, if you'll look around this edge, I do have sanding marks around this top lip that I'm going to have to go back before I call it a finished piece. And
that walnut I turned, the turning, I liked it. I enjoyed it. But trying to get the sanding marks out of it, it was rough.
Yeah. Well, I'm learning. Trust me, I'm still an amateur. I still have to put the jam chuck in here and then do the bottom. Before I do that, though, I think I'm going to put it back in the chuck and then put it on the multi-rest and then get these. You can see them right through here. I'm going to get these sanding marks out, sand it vertically, sand it this way, and get those sanding marks out of it so it'll look better. The sanding marks are out of everything else I can see. It's just right around this lip that I wasn't looking very good. But anyway, had a good time. I'm playing, having fun. That's what it's all about, having fun, having a good time. So, all right, Ken McCrory out there in the chat. Donald Vlogsfy Wood Shop. Katie Dotson. Bear Attic Wood Shop. Hello, how you doing? Tracy Keaton. Michelle Marcoux. Dickinson Hoffman. Desert Bum Woodworking. James Parker, Alan Carter, all you guys are out there. Paul John's Life in the chat. Now, before Shelly gets on here, and she'll repeat this, if you would, she's going to do the recipe first. And I want her to repeat that also before she gets started. But we've already talked about this. She's going to do the recipe first. So if y'all will hold off until afterwards to ask her questions, that would be appreciated. Write them down on a piece of paper if you have one. And then after she gets through, then you can ask the question, because she don't want to stop while she's going through the recipe at that point to answer questions. So, but here's Miss Shelly. You can tell us where we can all find you, and you're muted. You're still muted. There you
go. Thank you. All right. Well, hi, everyone. My name is Shelly. Many of you know me as Mom from the YouTube channel. Know it, Mom knows. I'm excited to be here to talk about SADUSDO and the number 2 recipe, the second recipe for the glue, because I have the stone glue, and that was featured on my channel, Know What Mom Knows, last night. And it's written in the recipe is written in the description of my live show last night. And tonight I will be working on showing how to make Flexi glue. So that makes the SADUSDO flexible. Back to you, Russ. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you don't don't come back to me. It's yours.
Oh,
it's yours.
Okay. I usually we say hi to the panel, so I wasn't sure.
Oh, you're actually right. You caught me.
Threw me off.
No, you've caught me. I forgot that. So, all right. Duh, I was so excited to get on
your show. Whatever you want to do.
No, I was so excited to get to you that I forgot to let everybody tell everybody where they're at. See, I'm just so excited to have you on.
Well, I'm glad. It's your show. Run it how you want. I was used to the way you do it. So.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm getting old and forgetful. Let's start from my right and tell us where you are from, or where we can find you, or just say something. Heck, go with Paul from Paul's Messy's Wood Shop.
Man, I'm never first.
Yeah, you are tonight.
I'm Paul Corliss from Paul's Messy Workshop on YouTube, on Instagram, and on .com. And looking forward to hearing Shelly's recipe, because if I remember right, Al said he wanted to eat it.
Yeah, I heard that too.
So thanks for having me on, Russ.
You're welcome. And next is Al Forte, the guy that wants to eat the SADUSDO.
Well, actually, I asked, is it edible? Right?
Okay.
That kind of developed afterwards. Al Forte from Odessa Woodworks on Facebook, Odessa Woodworking and Maker Shop on YouTube, and Twitch, Kilroy79763, and just do it just for fun.
Great. And then next is Mr. Ken from Moon Pie Creations. You're muted, by the way.
I just unmuted myself. Ken Moon from Moon Pie Creations. You can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube, Moon Pie Creations. If you want to watch my video. All right. Hopefully that works.
Cool. I got some crazy people here. By the way, Tracy Keaton out there said, "Love you, Paul." I don't know who she is. Did your wife know about her? Anyway, go ahead, Donald. You're next.
I'm not sure if I can follow that up or not, but I'm Donald Vlogsifys, also known as Donald Matthews. My YouTube channel is Donald Vlogsifys Wood Shop. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram are all there. And my website's redneckknowhow.com.
Great. And it's good to see you back. I know you've been sick for a while. You had the flu, so it's good to see you back on here.
Well, between work and flu trying to kill me.
That's good to see you back.
That's a mess this year.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Next is Chris Ahern.
Hey gang, Chris here from the Old Cranky Workshop. You can find me on Facebook and YouTube whenever I get a video done. The shop is closed until winter decides to let go of its grip of us. But we'll be back out there hopefully sometime in mid-March and get the projects going again. So back to you, Russ.
Good to have you. And last but not least, Miss Brenda G.
Hi, I'm Brenda G, Brenda G's Designs. I'm on YouTube at Brenda G's Designs. I'm on Etsy at Brenda G's Designs, and I'm on Twitter at Brenda G's Designs. And I hope everybody will come and look me up.
Cool. Yeah, it's pretty bad when you forget to let the panel introduce themselves. I go through all this trouble of putting notes, and then I'm going to have to revise my notes and more of a step-by-step process. Oh.
Excitable boy is all I got to say.
It already
understandable says, when you got Shelly staring there looking at you. You know?
Yeah, it already says after sponsors introduction of panel. Wow, I need to read my. All right, so now let's go back to Shelly, and yeah, you had me so excited. I'm getting hot over here that I couldn't.
The one and only Shelly Cole.
Yeah, yep. I'm really happy to be here, and I always want to start with giving an explanation of what SADUSDO is. So here it goes. The tree is natural. The wood that comes from the tree is natural. The sawdust is natural. And I like to keep it going. And what I mean by that is SADUSDO is a product that is created from the sawdust that is natural. And it's only colored by dried ground root, herbs, spices, cocoa powder, the things you find in your kitchen, activated charcoal, mica, ground rock. So everything that you would find in nature or maybe in your kitchen. And that kind of keeps things going. It keeps it natural. And you can even use shellac, I have found out, which is on jelly beans and M&Ms and different products. You can use shellac to cover your piece, and then you can have a SADUSDO piece from beginning to end. And so first I'd like to say thank you, Russ, for having me here tonight. This is going to be fun. And I just want to point out that because I have the YouTube channel, Know It Mom Knows, you can jump over there after the show if you'd like. I had a live show last night where I gave out my first recipe for the stone glue. It's called Green Earth Stone Glue. And actually I have some right here. I'm just gonna put my mouse over my thing here so I can see myself better. Okay, there you go. This is the stone glue. And actually this is the kind that's probably more edible than the other Flexi glue. Tonight I will be showing you the recipe number 2, which is Flexi glue. Well, stone glue, yummy. It's nice and sweet, and it's almost like gravy. And if you go look at the recipe, you actually will see it's very similar to gravy. It's a very creamy kind of mixture. So that is the stone glue, and the recipe is in the description of last night's show on my channel. Now I'm going to show you what tonight's glue looks like. It is called Green Earth Flexi Glue, or for short, Flexi Glue and Stone Glue. As you can tell, it is a different consistency. It is more, well, flexible and thick, and it is a completely different recipe. I would not eat this. You can taste it, and it's edible in the sense that you can taste it, but it's not really good to the taste buds, okay?
All right, I'm sorry I got to interrupt you, but you remind me back in elementary when we were eat the glue when we were.
Well, I bring it up that, you know, you can taste it in the sense that when I say keep it going, from the tree to the wood to the sawdust to making the glue and to using the herbs and spices to color it, I want you to know that my glue is non-toxic, unless you are directly, allergic to maybe the ingredients here. And I should bring it up. I had a collaboration going with somebody. I love this person so much, and we were all in. But we found out because the ingredients were going to react with this person, and it doesn't matter how, but they were going to react with this person, that we had to stop the collaboration. So let me say this. So even though it is considered non-toxic, make the glue at your own risk, and then continue on in making the SADUSDO, where you add the glue to the sawdust at your own risk. And to answer Al, I wouldn't go out of your way to eat SADUSDO, even though everything is non-toxic. When it comes to the sawdust, that's a different element. The sawdust itself, there are some trees you can eat, but tonight is not about eating trees, and it's not about the sawdust so per se. It's about the glue. So we're going to just move right along. I want to give you an example so you can see what Flexi glue does and what the stone glue does. Okay. This is an example of what the stone glue can do. Okay. It's a blank, and I sanded it too much at the bottom. This is the first blank I ever made, and it's very, you can hear that. It sounds very much like stone. And I found a lot of the things you do with the SADUSDO is how it determines how hard it gets. This is very much like stone, where you can have it very much more like wood or cork, depending on, how you dry it. Just saying it, if you air dry your SADUSDO, it does seem to be different than if you bake your SADUSDO, or if you dry it under heat. Some dehydrators use air and heat. So heat does change it. Heat makes it harder for the stone glue. Okay, keep that in mind. Where I want to give you an example. This is nice and hard, right? But yet this is a little bit flexible. And you're like, well, isn't this the stone glue? No, this is the flexible. This is the Flexi glue if you end up baking it and it gets really hard, but yet it's got a little bit of a give to it. However, you can still, I can show you, I'll probably show you in my videos how to get this extra flexible, okay? And when it's just dried normal, okay, this is how it is, okay? You can see the difference.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's really flexible.
Yeah, very flexible. And why this is important is you're like, well, when would I ever use something like this? I'm just going to use this bowl here. Pretend this is a wooden bowl. It's plastic. It's not wooden. But you wanted to, I have molds that I use, okay? And you can, however, you can make some SADUSDO strips, and you can hand carve them. So there's nothing to say you can't do that. But you got a curved bowl. Let me just try and get this on here. Let's see. Upside down. You can see how you can curve. And there's going to be times you're going to want to put some SADUSDO on something curved. In fact, my husband has a glue cabinet he's got on his channel, and the bottom of the glue cabinet, it was made out of pallet wood, and at the bottom of the glue cabinet there's these curved wood pieces that kind of come down. I know you can't really visualize it unless you see it, but you could take some of the SADUSDO, we've often talked about it, and putting some of this banding, SADUSDO banding, on those curves, and then straight, on the borders of the cabinet itself. So there's lots of things you can do with the Flexi glue. I'm going to show you, now this project is not done. I'm still working on it, but let me show you the flower. You see the flower? You can make this flower with the Flexi glue, and sawdust. Okay, and that's important. And you see how it's kind of white on top of here? Just like chocolate, when it blooms, the cocoa butter rises to the top and you get that white film on chocolate sometimes. The same happens with SADUSDO. As it sits around, some of the sawdust will kind of come to the surface because as it's drying, it kind of gets pushed to the surface. So that's no problem. When I'm ready to finish this box, I'm going to wipe it clean with just a damp paper towel and then let it dry a little bit. And then I'm going to put shellac on it. Okay. So that's normal if your SADUSDO gets that way. And here's something that is an example. This is not a finished project yet. I'm in the middle of making a full frame with this. So there's more that's going to be added to it. But that rose and the leaves are made with the Flexi glue that I'm going to show you now. So you can see there's advantage to having both recipes. Sometimes you want to make a blank, something hard, and sometimes you want to make something more flexible. Now, when this dries, it doesn't dry flexible because of the fact that for the roses, I find you have to use the stone glue to kind of hold the petals in place. So then with the stone glue there, it kind of makes everything kind of more crispy and hard. So it's not like they're going to be flexible roses when they dry. And like I said, over long term, it will dry quite hard. Okay, so I'm now going to show the recipe. We are not even going to, I've got other things here. We can talk about the other things later. Anything, Russell, you want to say real quick before I go right into the recipe? We don't hear you.
We were talking about dead batteries.
Yeah, I think my batteries are going dead on my headset. So that's cool. No big deal. Yeah, we just discussed this before the show started. So no, we were getting a little bit of an echo, and I don't know who it was coming from. So make sure everybody keep yourself muted, please. Ken, can you mute yourself to make sure that there's no echo, because people were complaining about an echo out there. So do y'all have any questions before we go from this stage to the next, by the way? All right. So no, Shelly, I guess just go ahead and go right on. Yeah, I'm going to step out for a second. So if y'all see me muted and the camera go down, I'm going to go get some batteries for my headset. So, but go right ahead. And the Paul or Al can take care of it, or Chris, and one of them can take care of everything if you need anything. Go ahead.
All right. Sounds good. All right, so I am more prepared tonight than I was on my show. I actually have ingredients here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to name the ingredients, and then we're going to give the amounts, and I'm going to actually show application here. Okay, so this is the most important part. It's called Vital Wheat Gluten, and most stores have it. This is from Bob's Red Mill. I'm not trying to say go shop at Bob's Red Mill, but however, this is an example. I find this up north in the northern states, Bob's Red Mill. But what it is, the exact ingredient is Vital Wheat Gluten. And I have been a chef my whole life. The gluten is what I use for breads to make a higher rise bread. It gives more elasticity. It causes more moisture into the breads. It's a protein. It's like 75% to 80% protein is what it is. And it comes from wheat. In fact, I want to read just this first part so you understand why this is an important ingredient. It says here, Vital Wheat Gluten is made from the protein found in the endosperm of the wheat berry, the wheat berry. When combined with water, it becomes highly elastic and taffy-like. So it kind of makes sense why your SADUSDO would have some spring to it. So this is an important vital wheat gluten. I will say this right now, this must be pre-mixed with all your dry ingredients before you add it to any liquid. So pre-mix this with your dry ingredients. Don't skip that. If you put this into the liquid, it's going to clump up and it will not dissolve. So make sure it's mixed in. Okay. And then next.
You just muted yourself.
How long have I been muted?
Not very long.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, did you hear everything about the vital wheat gluten?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'm so sorry.
The last we heard was it
I'm
would
gonna
pop
move.
up.
I'm going to move this out of the way so I don't accidentally hit it again because I would not know it. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah.
The next ingredient is kosher salt, and no particular brand, okay, just kosher salt. And you don't want table salt. No table salt, okay? Of course, there's going to be somebody who's going to use table salt. And will it hurt your SADUSDO? No, not really. However, I try and keep to a baseline of what is natural, okay? Kosher salt, and you can use sea salt, okay? Sea salt or kosher salt. Neither of them have chemicals added to it, where there's sodium that's added to table salt.
Iodine is added.
Oh, iodine, excuse me.
Yeah.
Of course, sodium, though that's, okay. Iodine, true. Now, there's nothing wrong with iodine, but it's not that I'm trying to just keep something baseline going. It's, you know, in food, there's too much iodine to begin with. And so I just figure, you know, kosher salt or sea salt, that's going to be the best to use. Now, if you have to use table salt, use table salt, but I don't recommend it. Okay. So kosher or sea salt if possible. And now, this is all-purpose flour, this white all-purpose flour. And I'm going to show you something now. It's called the scoop and sweep method. This is very, very important because when I married Shane, I assumed everybody understood how to take a scoop of flour. But when he would take a scoop of flour, he would shake it really hard and then he would push it all down.
Oh my God.
The flour. He'd pack it and then he'd get more in it and he'd pack it and he'd get like, by the time it was 1 cup, it was like closer to 1.5 cups. And we made cookies and the cookies were like little balls. He was the first one to invent those round ball cookies because they came out of the oven that way. So we've learned, I make sure scoop and sweep method. And this is a scoop and sweep. It means, you know, if your flour is compact, you know, stir it up, get it fluffy, okay? Take a fork or something, fluff it up some. Now scoop. It's not going to be exact because this is kind of shallow, but it's scoop. And then when it's up there, you'll take like a knife or your finger, whatever, and you'll sweep it across, okay? To get more of an even cup. So it's just scooped up, and then you can use your finger, whatever, and to level it off. So that's scoop and sweep method. That's what you'll use for this recipe, okay? For water, 2 cups of distilled water. And this goes the same way. Tap water has chemicals in it, even if they're trace chemicals. There's chlorine in it, just all kinds of mystery things in it. Every city has something different. There's just there's a big list of what could be in your water. So distilled water is the best water for my recipe here, okay? So distilled water. In a pinch, you can use tap water. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying if you want the best, distilled water, all right? You're going to want just like a pot, just like a small pot, all right? You're going to want powder on this. You're going to want a whisk. this is the wrong kind of whisk for this show. I use it for the show because it's big, but I have a special whisk that the handle goes up to 500 degrees because I love chef's tools, but it's smaller and I didn't bring it. Or wooden spoon is fine. And you want, for this recipe, a strainer. I couldn't find my other strainer that I normally use. So this is just like a pasta strainer, the wrong kind of strainer, but you get the point. You want to strain it with something that has small holes. This will work, okay? You know, if you get some lumps in there, it won't ruin your recipe, all right? But you want a strainer of some sort. All right, now here is the official recipe. If you want to write it down, go for it. I'm going to be doing videos in the next week to 2 weeks max of the stone glue recipe and the Flexi glue recipe. All right. Now I work in grams because grams are very accurate. I know not everybody has a machine that can weigh grams, but tonight I brought the information for both. So I'm going to start with the grams, okay? And then I'm going to go into the cups and teaspoons. I'm going to show practical application. But just for those technical people who want it in grams, there's people out there. Here you go. This is the recipe in grams. 145 grams of all-purpose flour, 245 grams of white granulated sugar, 55 grams of kosher or sea salt, and then 1 tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon of vital wheat gluten. That's just for the people who want it in grams. Now I'm going to do practical application showing cups and tablespoons of everything for the normal Joe who doesn't work in grams. Most households don't, unless you're a chef or something. All right, so I'm going to have y'all write this down, and then I'm going to show practical application. Ready? Get ready to write. For the all-purpose flour, 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. For the white granulated sugar, it's 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of sugar. For the kosher salt or sea salt, it's going to be 3 tablespoons. And then the vital wheat gluten, the 1 tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon. And keep in mind, the vital wheat gluten must be thoroughly mixed in with the dry ingredients before any wet ingredients are added. Otherwise, it will not dissolve. It'll be all clumpy. So now I'm going to put it all together for you, okay? So here's my pot. And this is pre-measured. This is 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons. It's already pre-measured. You know what? Of course. It's live TV show. You didn't see that. All right. You want to make sure you have an empty pot and an empty bowl. And what I did here is I put the 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of flour, all-purpose flour. I put it into a separate bowl. I'm putting the pot just down. Just forget about it right there. So 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons. Next, I'm going to put the 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of white granulated sugar. Let's see, and I have it pre-measured, so it'll be easier for the show. So that's just 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of sugar. Okay. And then I'm going to put this down so I can measure out the salt. So am I coming through okay right now?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Oh yeah, I've got you presenting so that everything you do with the panel is hidden for right now.
Okay. So
I had to change mics. I couldn't find any AA batteries.
You're making me hungry.
Good.
Making me hungry.
Yeah.
So 1 tablespoon. I'm pouring it all over the table. No, pouring it into the bowl.
Paul St. John said Paul John's life, I'm sorry. With all that sugar, no wonder everyone wants to eat it.
Let me turn this up a little bit.
It's
Pardon me? Pardon me?
That John's live said, with all that sugar, no wonder everyone wants to eat it.
Yeah. But this one you don't want to eat because there's 3 tablespoons of salt in it. And boy, is it salty when it's done. Very salty.
You ever eaten Play-Doh?
All right, and here is the 3rd tablespoon.
Don't ask me how I know that.
Pardon me?
I said, you ever eaten Play-Doh? Don't ask me how I know that.
Oh, yeah. Hasn't everybody? I mean, shoot, why did I even try eating my glue? In fact, I've been eating glue for 3 years. If you look at it that way, I've been trying to, and this is the best recipe I've come up with yet. But we'll talk about all that in a minute, but yeah, it's funny. Now, Vital Wheat gluten is going right into the dry mixture. And I'm sorry, I'm a little fumbly. I have a broken pinky on my right hand and a broken pinky on my left hand. So I'm trying to. So, got a tablespoon. Going right on into the bowl. And now I'm going to get a teaspoon. All right. Okay, I'll put this down. Oh, there we go. So now it's simple. Just mix it around really well. Like I'm gonna kind of mix it around. And for stirring your mixture, it on the stove it cooks for 12 minutes. So I'm jumping ahead, but I just want to say that you see how I've grabbed it straight in like that. That's the best way to stir because you keep your arms straight. Okay, because if you use your wrist like that, you'll end up with carpal tunnel real quick with this recipe because it's just too much on your wrist for stirring. So anyway, I'm stirring the dry mixture really, really, really good. So that's just pretend it's thoroughly mixed. I'm not double checking. I'm just pretending here. I'm pretty sure it is, there you go. It's pretty good, When you do it for real, you want to make sure this is completely stirred up, mixed up thoroughly. You cannot have Vital Wheat gluten sitting around at all because it'll clump. That's the thing with when it hits water, it turns into like bubble gum. So now I got my pot and there's still a little flour in there from earlier, but there you go. I'm going to now pour, almost made a mistake. I don't want to do that. Now I'm pouring the 2 cups of distilled water right on into this plastic container. And then you're going to stir it. I'll do it down here. Now I'm not going to probably get it completely stirred up perfectly because this is just a quick demonstration, but in my video over on the stove, when you see my video come out for Flexi glue, SADUSDO Flexi glue, watch and you'll see how I make sure it's all combined really, really, really well. Quick question. Why wouldn't you want to use an electric mixer? Pardon me? Why wouldn't want you to use an electric mixer? I'm going to be honest, in the entire time that I have made SADUSDO and the glues, I've never used a mixer. So you can. I have a stand mixer that I use for all my bread baking and everything. But that's what I was thinking. Those stand mixers with the bread whipping thing on it. Yeah, I bet you that would work. Yeah, I mean, if you want to use a mixer, I don't see why. When you cook it, obviously you need to have it on the heat. But I don't know. I mean, if you want to save your wrist for the beginning here and get everything really, really smooth, go ahead, throw it in a mixer. I don't know why. I never thought of that. And especially since I've cooked my whole life, I've never thought of doing that. Just probably because I'm looking at this differently. I'm looking at it as working with sawdust, and it just never clicked, even though it's working with food. It just never clicked. So yes, it's a mixer. So this is actually coming together pretty good, but I can see there's still some lumps at the bottom and some dry areas. So I won't worry too much about that right now. I'm just gonna put this away, and well, actually I'll put it right here into here. So this is for demonstration purposes, I guess. So pretend this is more of a fine grade metal strainer, because a metal strainer would probably be better, but it doesn't really matter. It's just for demonstration. I'm putting this on top of my pan. Put this to the side. And I'm going to just kind of dump this over the strainer like so. And it's a big gloppy mess, and I don't even know if it's going to go through. But the point is, now it's kind of going through. It'll be different if you use a metal strainer, like one of those fine mesh strainers, or, you know, it can even be a medium strainer. But if you have to use one of these spaghetti strainers, the point is you want to get the lumps out. So you'll take your spoon or something, and you'll just kind of like, you know, mix it around. We'll just do this top part. We won't worry about the rest of it. But yeah, I'm seeing some lumps, so that's the point of this. You get to where you can't get any of it to go through, like if there's lumps. It's almost done. We'll just call it done. But there's like some little, yeah, you see maybe right there. There's a lump. I don't know if it's showing up. Yeah, maybe there is. Well, it doesn't matter. Anyway, there's some lumps in there. And what you're going to do is discard the lumps. You're just going to simply just throw it in the garbage, okay? So now, this is on the stove. It's making a real mess now, right? This is on the stove. Now, you set the timer 12 minutes, or you can watch a clock. Turn on your heat to medium heat. And you're going to stir it for 12 minutes. I won't stir it for 12 minutes right here. Just an example, but you're going to stir this for 12 minutes. This will act very differently than the stone glue that we talked about yesterday. And let me remind everyone, stone glue turns kind of translucent, especially when you're using a whisk. You can look through and you'll see little bubbles that you can like see through. You can put your hand on the other side practically and see through. The stone glue gets translucent. Not so for Flexi glue. Flexi glue is tougher to make. It gets very thick, and you have to kind of keep stirring. So I suggest a wooden spoon. You might want to start with a whisk or something, but you don't want to use metal on a general note, because metal conducts heat. And like I said, I have a special whisk where the handle goes up to 500 degrees. If you have that, great. But use a wooden spoon, I would suggest, because it gets really thick and you're trying to like stir it. And you're going to go, it's done. I know it's done. And it'll be like 8 minutes. And you go, oh, no, you have to keep going. Go to 12 minutes. And then at 12 minutes, you're done. It'll even get dry. It'll even start to get dry in the bottom of your pan. And when you stir it, the glue will like goop up on your spoon, and it'll be dry on the bottom. And you'll even like, oh, am I burning it? You'll think you're burning it. And, you know, just keep stirring it, stirring it. Obviously, if you do start to burn a little area, don't try and dig up the burned area, you know. But just give it a good stir. 12 minutes. Put it into a container. This is an example. Pour it into a container, and then do not put a lid on it. What you're going to do is, because it's boiling hot, put it to the side, put a put a paper towel, a dry paper towel over, and just leave it sit. Or a dry wash rag or kitchen towel, just something dry, put it over, but not a lid. Because as the heat rises, if you got a lid, it'll cause the water to escape because of the steam. It'll collect on the lid and start dripping down, and you'll have a pool of water in there. And you don't want the pool of water mixed with your sawdust, okay? Water is the enemy for sawdust. So pretty much after it cools down, you can then take off your towel, whatever, put a lid on it, screw it on, or whatever lid you have, put a lid on it, then keep it in your refrigerator. And the question is, people will say, well, can I use it while it's hot? You can. I have. But let me just say that hot equals burns. So as safety, I would say let it cool down. Don't be in such a rush. Let it cool down and then use it, because it works cold, it works hot, it works room temperature, sure. But safety says let it cool down before using it. When it's in your refrigerator, it can stay in your refrigerator for 3 days, up to 7 days in your refrigerator. Now, can it go longer? I've seen it go 3 weeks, but out of safety, I'm just going to say 3 days to a week. And at any time you see mold growing or it just smells funky, get rid of it, because you don't want to incorporate moldy, bad glue into your sawdust, because then when your sawdust is drying, it has the potential to mold, and you want to try and prevent mold. You can freeze it. If you make, this makes about a 1 pound, well, my dry ingredients and everything, the dry ingredients are about 1 pound. For the stone glue and the Flexi glue, it's about 1 pound each. But when you add the water, it adds more to it. But so it makes quite a bunch. You can do several recipes. You can make several batches of SADUSDO with it. So you might want to say, I'm going to take half the batch, put it in the fridge, put the other batch, the other half into the freezer, and you can leave it in the freezer for up to 3 months. So keep that in mind. It freezes really great. And I'm just about ready to wrap up to see if there's questions. Let me just see if there's something else I want to say.
That's good. That's actually good to know that you can put it in a freezer and let it sit, so you can make a big batch and you wouldn't have to worry about it going bad.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I know what I wanted to say. The freezing is great for that. Exactly. And the actual recipe, the baseline recipe, is 1 cup of fine sawdust to half a cup of the glue. Now, depending on what you are doing, like I found when you make these little roses, sometimes you might need an extra tablespoon of the glue. And let's see. Yeah, I mean, it depends. Sometimes even weather plays into it. Okay. If you make it on a rainy day, you make your sawdusto on a rainy day, there's more moisture in the air. It's like baking in a sense. Some days you might need a little bit more glue, some days a little bit less, but the baseline is 1 cup of sawdust. And when I say sawdust, I mean fine sawdust. I put it in this little container. I want to show you how fine I'm talking about. It's like literally like cornstarch. That is sawdust.
How did you get that fine?
I'll have to show you in my videos, but
okay.
In essence, I've got different strainers, different metal strainers. And this is probably what a lot of people have in their shop. More like that is what they might consider sawdust.
Yep.
Because, yeah, and you can use this, but my baseline is this. And because it's a finer product, and I'll show you why. Maybe not everybody has seen this already. This is a doll that I made. It's Jessie from Toy Story 2. And this is a complete project done in SADUSDO, all of it, okay? It's a wall art. Let's see how thin it is. But this was done with the fine sawdust. Now, if you start making this with the chunkier, coarse sawdust, or the shavings, it's going to have a different look to it. Do you understand? Like this, I got flour on it now. This is done with fine sawdust, okay? The whole thing. And if you're wondering how I got those layers, it's just like making a blank. I took a red layer, put it between 2 black layers, and let it dry like a blank. And then I cut the layers out, and then I you know. So this is not a done project, but this is just to show you potential. This is done with the stone glue, but the flower is done with the Flexi glue. That opens up a whole new world. I want to make a cake out of SADUSDO from beginning. I used to make regular cakes for people, graduation cakes, wedding cakes. I did everything like that. I'm going to do this with SADUSDO, and this is kind of cool. See that? That looks like a piece of candy. That is piped, literally piped. So because S04 brought that up, so I give the credit to him. Yeah, it's piped like in a piping bag and with a tip. So this is just one example. I could have piped those roses. I can pipe daisies. I can do all kinds of piping. I can make a full SADUSDO cake, SADUSDO layers with SADUSDO filling, because you can use chocolate. So dark chocolate and milk chocolate are my favorite SADUSDO to make. And it fills the whole house with aroma of chocolate when I'm working with it. And I smell like chocolate. So as you can tell, chocolate. And happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Coming up around the bend. I'm going to go ahead and give it back to Russell. I can show more of my stuff and we can talk about some things, see if there's any questions. But back to you, Russell.
All right, now I got to stop presenting you. So
okay.
See if we come back up on the panel. Yeah, that I was always wondering how it looks so smooth and why it looks so smooth. And I just found out your secret. You're getting the fine sawdust out of all that and not the coarser sawdust. So that totally makes sense now. I kept on saying, what is she doing? Taking the sawdust to a sander and resanding it? Yeah. So, all right, we've had a few questions out there in the chat. Now is the time, if you want to ask your questions, to ask your questions. I know you've asked them before, but we haven't been doing the questions because I wanted her to go through that whole thing about how it's made. So if you have questions, now is the time to ask them, and I and my panel will do everyone to do our best to watch and catch it. If you ask a question and several people ask questions and your question goes by and we don't get to it, retype it a couple of times later on, especially when you like, well, they didn't answer my question, because it may scroll by and we just miss it. What about caramel SADUSDO? Do you hear me, Shelly? You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it on mute when
yeah, I know. What about caramel SADUSDO?
Caramel? Now, do they mean the color, or do they mean I can make caramels in the shape? Is it
wacky?
Well, I'll answer both.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, to answer you both ways. Yes, you can use oh, cool. I'm gonna have to do that. You can take caramelized sugar probably and make that be your coloring. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to try it, but to get it to be caramel color, I would say take a hot pan, put it on the stove, put white sugar in it, and turn it up to high or medium high right in there, and then just let it start to melt down, and then let the liquid start caramelizing. And when you see little bits of it start to caramelize and it's all liquidy and it starts getting dark, swirl it around a little bit and then pour it off on like a piece of parchment paper that's got a little bit of butter on it, and it'll be just like candy. It's caramelized candies, caramelized sugar. But I would say you could take that and grind it up to get that deep caramel color. You might even want to let it go even extra dark because you're not going to be eating it, you know. So let it get extra dark, and then you'll have that caramel color, and then you might be able to add that to pine sawdust and the glue. I don't know how it works, but I'm going to try it. Or you can try taking different herbs and spices to come up with a blend, to come up with a caramel color. And when I say by blend, everything on here is not paint. This is not paint. This is all herbs and spices. When I talk about blends of colors, the yellow here on the shirt, that's like 3 different flowers. Calendula, can't say it right. Dandelion, and I know it's got some turmeric in it. that makes the color. The hat here, which this is a close-up of a scrap piece, you can see little pieces in there, almost little specks. That's because it's madar root powder mixed with sandalwood chips. So I took actual wood, sandalwood, and grinded it in a little coffee grinder with some madar root powder, and then I added that to the glue, and then added, and this is stone glue, you know, and add it to the sawdust. So you develop your own colors through the things you find in nature and in your kitchen. The little part of the belt, that's milk chocolate, and dark chocolate is the belt buckle.
All right, you got a bunch more questions. So
okay, so that answers that. You can develop your own colors through.
Nobody's tried turning any of this stuff as of yet, right?
No, there's two channels working on it, and
okay. So we don't. So a lot of people, that'll answers all the questions about the turning stuff, because she don't know yet. They're going to try it and see how it does turn it. Jim Dockerer wants to know, how do you clean the pot sandblasted?
Oh no! Amazingly, once you mix your hello, you know, this is great. I'm glad that you asked. Glad you asked this. I brought examples. When you mix up your sawdust, your 1 cup of sawdust with the half a cup of glue and about, you know, a teaspoon of whatever color you use, because you're using, say, cocoa powder or whatever. When you mix it into your bowl, literally it practically cleans the bowl. All this kind of goes around the bowl and it cleans the bowl up.
Okay, so it self-releases, so to speak.
Self-releases.
Yeah. Okay. What was the sawdust to glue ratio again?
Okay. It is 1 cup of fine sawdust. You can see it almost looks like cornstarch. It's so fine. You can use other kinds of you know, coarse grade, medium grade. The best is the fine, and you would do that with a sifter. Okay, you sift your sawdust. So it's 1 cup of sawdust to half a cup of glue. That's the baseline. You might have to go higher or lower depending on your project that you're doing. You might tablespoon 2 or more or less. Baseline, half a cup of glue to 1 cup of sawdust.
Okay, so let me go back.
How do you add the color? That was another question that was out there.
Okay, well, this is a good point on this. You see how this one looks kind of not so good. This look like it's a mess. This is what it will look like when it comes out of your bowl. And when you add your 1 cup of, we'll just grab a bowl. If you add 1 cup of sawdust in here and then a half a cup of glue, that is when you're going to want to add your color. So this is my whole batch that I did was 1 teaspoon of red mica powder, which is ground rock. That's what's used here. But it's going to look all like that. And if you try and make a project out of that, I guarantee it's going to look just as bad. When you process the dough, see the difference, how creamy this is.
Right.
And the way that I get to here is I'll take this and I'll break it into sections like maybe this big, and then I'll knead it. And if you have kids, you want gloves on, so I won't overdo it now. But at first, you see how it's kind of crumbly, and you want the kids to play with it and knead it, and just play with it and get it all. I'll show you in my video. It's easier said, but you want to play with it till it gets nice and creamy. This is not crumbly. Look at that. This is the same that this was started. So when you process it, that's why I'm saying the recipe will get you in trouble if you do not follow through with the how-to. That's important.
Should you sift the dry ingredients and to make sure that they're lump free? And I would be like, yeah, of course. You don't want any lumps in anything.
Yeah, definitely. Like you want to pre-sift your sawdust so you can, it's consistent. This is 100% consistently fine. And as you can tell, this section here is there's no fine sawdust in it. It's just all coarse. So you want to be consistent with whatever you use. And of course, if you've got lumps in your sugar, like if you've got water in there, you got lumps of sugar, get rid of those. If you got lumpy flour, get rid of that. And that's the whole purpose of when you mix it, it's like the last thing you do is strain it before you put it in your pot to cook it. So yes, keep it free of lumps when possible.
Dave Hart wants to know when you add the color. It's whenever you get ready to add the sawdust and mix that, then that's when you decide what color you want it. You add the color at that time, right?
And it's a yes and no on that. I didn't bring it, but I have a mound of pine SADUSDO, just a big circle, that sometimes I don't know what color I'm going to use, and I'll be working on a project and I try and plan ahead, but there's always those times where you don't plan it just right. And if you have some, and I say pine because that is the best, that makes the best SADUSDO, but we can go into all that either on my channel or later today. But pine is the best for being mostly non-toxic. But anyway, that ball is there, so I can grab a piece off and I can mix in a piece of, let's see, do I have any here? No, I don't have any here, but if I wanted to mix in some sage to make some green, let's say, some ground sage or some ground basil or something to make the leaves for the flowers. And in fact, that kind of happened on this project here. Is I did not have this sitting aside. I grabbed my big chunk of SADUSDO, just pine with no coloring in it. I grabbed a little piece off, and this is with neem, N-E-E-M, neem leaf. That's how I got this color, and it's perfect for this rose. So you can add it per thing you're going to make, but then it's nice to have some plain SADUSDO sitting to the side as needed for, oh, I forgot this, or I need more of that.
Okay, I just want to say shout out to Donna Presley, Donna's Wood Art. She's been sick. She had the flu, was really sick, and just now getting over it, and she's out there in the chat. So glad you're doing better, Donna. We love you. She's been on the panel before. She's a very good friend of mine, so I'm very glad that you are out there in the chat and doing better. Trying to look back through. Anybody else see anything that I missed about a question? I'm going back through. I really don't see anything else.
Shelly, has anybody scroll sawed it? I think I saw a question about, about cutting it with a scroll saw.
Oh, glad to bring that up. I have a full video on this. I have not released it. In fact, this is the second one I've made. And yes, it's scroll sawed. This is scroll sawed. And I'm going to show in my video how it's scroll sawed. So it scroll saws beautifully. Let me show you. This is a scrap piece of this, actually. And you can see how hard that is. And see how it can break. So it's got a good snap to it. It's nice and hard. Scroll saws perfectly. Yes. And the way I made two of these is because the first one I made it about a year ago for Stephen Twidell for his helping children of autism promotion. And I wasn't able to be in that. I had some YouTube issues. Somebody was blackmailing me at the time. And so I did not have access for 6 months on my channel. So I wasn't able to be in that. So I gave that to my sister. And this is the second one. I loved it so much. I said, I'll make another one. I have all kinds of nephews and nieces and grandchildren. So I love how this turned out. So made another one. It is scroll saw. That's the answer.
It's not a question, but it's cool as crap. He said, Wacky Woodwork said, if you use time, you could make a clock.
Oh, you know what? And yeah, that's funny.
I know. Time clock. I thought it was.
I do have a clock piece, the gadgets or mechanisms to make a clock. And for all those that didn't see this earlier, the rose on top there is made with the Flexi glue recipe of tonight, where the trim is made with the stone glue of yesterday. And this is not finished, of course. This is just an example. But
Live to Learn says, does it become rock hard? And she just answered that. There's two variations. There's one that's a softer, more pliable, and there's one that becomes rock hard. So there's two ways you can make it. So, never did answer. Ken who? Ken Moon Pie? We don't answer his questions.
Thanks, Russ.
No, what did you have a question about food coloring?
Yeah, can you use food coloring?
You know, that got brought up last night, and on a general note, I'm going to say no. Now, can you, if you really want to do it? I mean, it's kind of like once it's in your shop, it's out of my control. I'm making SADUSDO where it is completely natural. The tree is natural, the wood is natural, the sawdust is natural. I like to keep it going. Herbs, spices, things you find in the kitchen. I like it straight up natural. It's out of my control when it's on your end. Now, I've heard there are some natural food colorings out there. I haven't seen them. Now, we make them. I've made them for several recipes. Like you can make colors out of flowers, and you can make colors out of fruits and berries. So I'm going to be working with those kind of experiments this summer, you know, showing how you can maybe make your own colors through edibles. But as far
as I didn't know if maybe the food coloring may react differently and not help, you know, maybe not set up correctly or something like that. So.
I mean, I just have stayed away from the regular standard food coloring because they're usually artificially created. But, you know, nowadays you can find just about every color. Let me give you an example. These are micas. These are some micas. And I've been exclusively going through the Nurture, let's see, Nurture, the Nurture soap. I don't know, but this is who I go through. And after the show, actually, I'll put a link down below of this company. I'll put a link. But they have beautiful, beautiful colors of mica. And so just about every color that you would get at the store out of those drippy food coloring tubes, you can get with mica and herbs and spices, chocolate. So there's a wide variety there. But the answer is don't use the food coloring if you have something else you can use. Will some people use it? Sure. Is it breaking any rules? There's no breaking rules here, even if you do something completely different than me. I'm just setting a guideline, a baseline. Does that make sense? Yeah, my baseline says stay away from artificial.
Just one suggestion on the food coloring, just a been there, done that situation, wear gloves.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'll walk. It will come off, but it'll take a while. Trust me. I got
another question, Russ.
Go ahead.
For Shelly, you talked about coatings and using shellac. And shellac, you know, basically it's a food safe, basically, because you can use some children's toys and all that. Have you ever thought about carnauba wax, which is, you know, I mean, they put it on Reese's Pieces and M&Ms and stuff like that. Would that be in line with the natural coating for the SADUSDO?
I haven't researched that one exactly, but you're right. That is I know with shellac they use that on jelly beans and different things. But you're right that is it carnauba wax? You're breaking up. But yeah, I believe that's, yeah, you know, and really any other coating that somebody can come up with other than shellac, and I like that idea too, is fine. This is polyurethane, and you're like, oh, I broke my own rule. Well, like I said, there's no rules. It's just guidelines. I did not have shellac, and I wanted to, you know, make this nice looking. And I did not know about the shellac. I mean, I knew about the shellac, but it didn't make sense at the time. And when Al kind of brought it up, Al Forte, he brought it up this last week, I'm like, yes, shellac. So the answer to the question is, it doesn't really matter what you use on here. If it's natural, I say go for it. There's going to be people who will paint them and do a beautiful job. I know Brenda Gibson on our panel here from Brenda G's Designs. She painted some of my SADUSDO this week. And, you know, so I don't know if you want to talk to her now about it, but she painted it and it looked beautiful. I would say in a general note, keep it natural, but there's going to be some people in your shop who are going to do things differently. Don't put mineral oil on it. It'll just soak it up. That's the one thing. You don't put oil on it. It's not going to work that way.
You can use shellac, polyurethane. You can paint it. If you wanted to make it just one bland color and come back and paint it, I'm sure that that's okay. What she's trying to say is you can color the actual SADUSDOs so that when it's almost like an Intarsia project.
Yeah.
So each piece is colored individually, made from, you can make a batch of purple, red, blue, yellow, green, or whatever, and take pieces from that to make your project like an Intarsia. So,
absolutely.
Do what?
I've got a question. When she layers it, when you layer it, Shelly, do you roll it out with a rolling pin? Do you use any type of measurement system? I mean, how do you get it? How do you get it that thin that we saw on that one brick? Okay. And I'm sorry, there's something else too. There was something about shellac, whether you buy shellac pre-melted or pills or whatever. I just suggested it, and she hadn't done it. I hadn't done it either. Hey, you can go ahead, and give it a try and let us know. I mean, that's what all this whole thing is about. Everybody's going to hopefully try to do different things with it, and some will have success, and some. Shelly's giving you the baseline to this very exciting addition to the shop, the maker community.
You take from what she is giving us and giving everybody, and you can make little variations and share when you make the variation. Say, hey, I tried this and it works fantastic. That's what this whole thing's about. Trying to go back through. If I've missed your question, I repeat. Go ahead and type it in again, because don't feel left out. It's just there's so much going on in the chat that it's hard for me to keep track of everything. So I'm trying to go back through and see. And
I know I kind of went off on that, but did you ever answer my question?
No, I have it right here. This is, now you can see they look a little powdery. There again, it's because they've sat around for a while, and as they dry, they will the sawdust comes to the surface. But you see how thin that is, okay?
Yeah, that is thin.
Yeah.
Now, what's nice about making thin like this, for me, what I found out is I can glue them with my stone glue together, and I'll try and put it together.
I think I've seen that stuff at communion in church.
Yeah.
Wafer thin, the stuff.
Yeah, but it you can build it as high as you want. And I had a little piece of I had something that looked like this. It's actually in the other room. It was layered like this, and it carves beautifully. And I'm going to show on one of my videos. But you asked how to I roll it out and what measurements. So far, I have just literally taken like a dowel and rolled out the dough. I roll it out super, super, super thin, and I usually cut the edges off, or I'll make it like thicker. As you can see in this blank, the black is thicker than the little blue. I have an experiment in the other room where I made a 2-inch high, one color. I did 2 inches high to make a blank like this, a thick one. It's not working. When it's too thick, it's going to take like a year to dry out. And so I cut it in half just to see what's going on there. And yeah, it was good and wet in there. So now it's about 1 inch high. Pardon me?
I'm sorry.
Hear you.
The thinner, the better?
Yeah, it seems like if it's thinner, it dries quicker.
How do you put the layers together with more glue?
Yeah, with more glue, but like I don't use the Flexi glue. The Flexi glue will gum up when it's dried. Like if you put it between 2 layers, it gums up. Always use the stone glue. It's like you need both recipes, okay? The stone glue is very strong. And so this is the stuff that will hold your pieces together. When you're making your flowers, it holds the leaves together. It's very strong. And this is not a 1 hour show, meaning when I'm done with this show here and with my live show, I'll be doing tips and tricks all the way through 2018. SADUSDO is very in depth. And like Russell said, and Al said, and some other people, this is for the community. This is not for me. It's for everybody. That's why I'm giving the recipes away, because we all have sawdust. So what y'all find out later when you do your experiments, let me know, let the community know, because there's no right and wrong. It's just, I put the baseline out there.
Are you going to have an
natural, and we grow from there.
Are you going to have an FAQ somewhere, or some place that asks the questions basically and gives the answers, so that people can reference that?
Yeah, my website that I got from Devobal on Russell's show here, it is just about complete. We're finishing up, so to speak. It should be done here very shortly. And I'm going to have a place there. It's a community place where people can submit their products, what they've done, and a place where we can talk about it. And it's going to have a blog there, and I'm going to talk about SADUSDO. On top of that, I'm going to be opening up sometime this next month, after things get rolling, a Facebook page just called SADUSDO. So we can kind of keep the conversation going there in a more public manner. So some will come to my website, some will come to the Facebook. But yes, I agree. This needs to get out. This needs to be a community thing where people continue to talk about it and develop it. So yeah, it's not about me. It's not about me.
Dave Hart said, and I agree, time for a SADUSDO challenge. In other words, it gets rolling out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is actually going to be my very first, because I've never done like a big giveaway on my channel, and I thought, I might do some kind of giveaway, but I've been doing little giveaways and stuff. But when my first challenge on my channel will be a SADUSDO challenge. So cool. That's a sneak peek to everybody. Make some glue, play with the sawdust. Get used to it, because down the road we are going to have a SADUSDO challenge, and that's going to be cool.
Yeah, that would be
like fun.
Yeah.
I don't really see any more questions other than Shane said, "Ask how you made the." Who's that guy, Shane? I'm so glad. I'm so glad we didn't have to put up with him tonight. Anyway, he asked something about how do you make the sawdust grain or wood grain SADUSDO?
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I've got all kinds of things. When the questions are done, I got more to show y'all. But yeah, to make the wood grain, let's say, is I would probably take two different opposite colors. Like I would say, I would make some dark chocolate SADUSDO with cocoa powder, and then milk chocolate cocoa powder. And then I would take some pine SADUSDO. So I've got 3. Pine SADUSDO with no coloring, dark chocolate SADUSDO, and milk chocolate SADUSDO. And I would probably make 3 layers, and while they're wet, I probably would put them on top of each other and then kind of like roll it, like twist them, and then I'd roll the whole thing out, and it's gonna like marble it. And there's different ways you can do a marbling effect, you can do a wood grain effect, and I will do some videos on that.
Cool. Of
how to do that, because I know that I'm not the only one who wants to do that. Make a wood grain look and a marbling look with your SADUSDOs.
I think the questions are pretty well gone. So yeah, I guess you want to talk about anything in closing?
Yeah. In closing, I'll just say that this is something I got from Menards, and these are those wood accents, just hardwood accents. And this is not the same design. And I do have to sand this one and make it better. But this goes to show you the options out there are wonderful. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. You can make almost a duplication of what you just showed.
Yeah, I mean, so that just goes to show you. I mean, this was the first one I ever did. So, the second, third, fourth, it's only going to get better and better.
Yep.
And yeah, I wanted to show you, if y'all get discouraged and you're like, I'm making the roses and they look horrible. I'll show you how horrible my roses are if I can see if I got them on my page here. No. Okay, apparently I didn't bring mine. I was too embarrassed. But let's just let it be known, your first rose that you make or flower with the Flexi glue or anything you make, don't let that first time discourage you, because it took a long time to get to where, well, that's got flower on it now, but that took a long time to get to where I understood this. And that came from a mold. And
that is so cool.
Just experiment with it. Don't let it scare you. And guess what? If you have questions and if it don't work, if it's a big gloopy, crumbly mess, don't go freaking out. Just go, okay, you know, Shelly's been here. She's done this before. I'm going to ask her about it. Or that's why we want the community questions. We want people to bring them up. We want everyone to know. So my ending thought is don't let SADUSDO scare you, and just know that it is it's easy enough to do. Maybe your first time won't be so easy, but keep working with it, because it's a new world with SADUSDO. What you can do in a shop, it's no more yesteryear of clumpy sawdust projects that you see in the internet, and no more expensive, because yeah, you can use epoxy. Sure, use epoxy. You know how expensive epoxy is? Just ask Elle, right? It's like $20 or so for like 16 ounces or 8 ounces. It's expensive.
Yeah.
So sure, use that, but you want cheap, do the homemade glue. It's like pennies on the dollar. For a 1 pound, 1 pound mix is like $1 or so. It's really cheap to make your own homemade glue. So I'm gonna end it with.
Go ahead.
Check out. I'm ending it with just keep it going natural. That's the baseline. SADUSDO is natural. Do your own thing in your shop. Make it your own, but have fun with it. And I'm here for questions, and I will be doing future shows on SADUSDO on my channel. Thank you for having me, Russell. Thank you so much, panel.
Well, I just want to say, if you want to see a how this can be used in real time, so to speak, go over to Shane's Hobby Shop YouTube page and look for his where he built in the what contest did he put that in?
Pallet Wood Upcycle of 2017.
Upcycle Challenge. Look for that video and look at that bookcase thing that he made. That front of that is covered with SADUSDO. Yeah, it's like
application.
Yeah, that's just right there. One way you can use it. She made, like, she showed those patterns, and he put it on the front of it. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely beautiful.
And that, for an experiment's sake, had Flexi glue. Like we used this here. It had Flexi glue trim to it and stone glue as a trim. It's 50-50 on that project because we wanted to see what it does. And do you know that it all turned rock hard? It just goes to show you that the Flexi glue will get rock hard. It was sitting out in the sun, and the sun baked it. Heat does something to it. Like I said, this is Flexi glue, and if I pull it hard enough, it'll break. See, it bends pretty good. Oh, wow, that was dried and baked. So that just goes to show you.
Wow,
but, yeah. And the other one, I must have dropped it, but you know, oh yeah, here it is.
Yeah,
this
Shane.
Is the other one.
Shane posted the link over there in.
Yeah.
So
you can use flexible product on most things, but for the most thing, I think the majority of things, you're going to want to use stone glue for them for most of your projects, and Flexi glue for specialty things like making the flowers, making trims that you want to put around a bowl. It's wide open, and just it's going to be fun. So thank you, Russ.
I'm going to try some of that on some of my dovetail gats.
Yeah. By the way, Shane, I expect a check in the mail for you shamelessly spamming yourself on my channel, by the way.
Well, in a way, it also spams you in a good way because you're in charge of the palette contest, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm just messing with him.
For those of you who can't find the palette contest on Shane's channel, go over to Russell Clarity's channel, Simply Wooden Creations, and look up 2017 Palette Wood Upcycle
challenge. Yep.
Contest, whatever.
Yep. He won first place. And
yeah,
then
first place.
Chris Ahern took second place with his pallet upcycle.
Yep.
He just won because my picture was on the shelf.
That's right.
Good.
Dan over in the chat wants to know the biggest SADUSDO piece you've made.
So you're breaking up there. What were you saying?
Dan Ingiewood wants to know, or Dan Ingie from Dan Ingie Woodworking wants to know, what's the biggest piece of SADUSDO you've ever made?
Oh, I can't even show that. I will tell you. But no, if I tell you, it'll give it away. Let's just say I'm making something that fits in the living room, and it's for an upcoming challenge.
Okay, but I'm just saying, can you give us an approximate size, like 2 foot by 4 foot or 2 by 3?
Well, I'll show you this. This one is just done with layers, and this is a blank done with layers, and that's two inches high. So you can layer the layers as big as you want. But and I am having to layer on a project pretty good. So I don't want to give away
like 2 by 4 or anything.
Avoiding.
Let me see. No, it's still being developed. So
the size is still being developed. It is so huge.
It's still, yeah. But I'm hoping
how you gonna fit a SADUSDO bass boat in the living room?
Yeah, that's what it is. You gave it away, Donald. Oh my goodness.
Chip Bills wants to know, is SADUSDO like MDF? No.
Okay. No. But yes, no, and yes, and what I mean by that is Russell made a good point. When in Florida, in the hotter states, it's very moist in the air, humid, and MDF has a property where it puffs up when it gets wet. And unfortunately, that is probably the only thing that's similar to MDF, is that even though as rock hard as this is, if you get water on it, I mean, not just if you get some water, spill water, it's not going to like poof. But if you soak it in water, it will eventually dissolve. There's nothing in it that is holding it together like that. It's, as you can tell, the glue is more like gravy. So think of, but other than that, it's not like MDF, because MDF is full of like a resin, or it's either resin and some chemicals mixed with sawdust. So it's more chemically based, more done in a factory, where this is the home version, I would say, and it's more natural because it's non-toxic. Where MDF, you don't want to breathe the sawdust from MDF. Don't want to breathe that in. Where I'm not saying you want to breathe this in, but I'm saying this is going to be less toxic because there's no chemicals, none, no formaldehyde, no chemicals in this. So that's the biggest difference. But there's the one same difference of MDF and this can't get wet.
Yeah,
sorry.
Well, no, I think there's a big difference. Is one, they can't get wet. Okay, that they got that similarity, but MDF is made with chemicals, pressed, it's, and under all extremely amount of pressure to make the sheet, and like she said, it's resin and everything, but it's not waterproof. MDF is not at all. And when I say that is, I live here in Florida. I have bought numerous router tables, and I've used them. And they don't happen overnight, don't get me wrong. But after 2 or 3 years of being in the Florida humidity, if you don't have them in a shop that is a controlled environment, so to speak, they will swell. I've had problems with them. And I'm just like, somebody said the other day, I said, my next router table or router that I buy is probably going to be more of a shaper than a router, but will be a cast iron. I'm just tired of the MDF.
And the big project. Yeah.
And don't breathe the dust, for heaven's sake.
And you can't eat MDF.
Yeah, you can't eat MDF. No. Well, you could, but you'd be graveyard dead after about 24 hours, or you'd be pooping limbs and branches.
And I will say this, the biggest project that I'm making that fits in my living room, I will definitely be putting shellac on that, because I want to seal it. because it's going to be where people will be able to put something with water on it, you know, be it a cup of coffee or something, and water can get on it, and so I want to protect it with something. So
yeah, that doesn't mean that it's not water resistant. It just is not waterproof. I mean, you wanna...
Yeah, I would say this is water resistant. If you just pour water on it, you can wipe it off in a state.
And it has a coating on it too, yeah.
MDF, you can do that too. You can pour water on the MDF and wipe it off, and everything's fine right then. But it's just our humidity levels are so bad here in Florida that and it don't happen overnight. It takes you know, a couple of 3 years, but over a period of time, that constant high humidity soaks into that, and if it's not in an air conditioned house where it's a controlled environment, MDF just does not do it here in Florida. That's, to me, I mean, and I'm just, when I say that, I have a bad taste in my mouth, so to speak, about MDF, but yeah, oh, you get the pun. But what I'm learning is also, and I've tried it on a few projects for the CNC, and that is that it carves great on a CNC. Yeah. So I'm actually starting to experiment with it some on a CNC because of the fact it is sawdust and fine sawdust, and the way it's designed, when the bit goes through it, there's no tear out, which you would have in normal wood, whether it be oak or maple or whatever, through the grains. There's no tear out or anything, so it carves very, very nice. So I've done a Star Wars thing out of MDF, and I did a Aztec calendar out of MDF, and those both turned out fantastic. So I'm experimenting with that. But once again, that's going to be sealed for number one, and then put in a house which has an AC in a controlled environment, so to speak. Yeah. I didn't see you should lick it, Russ. Oh, you shouldn't lick it, Russ. No, I don't try to lick MDF, I swear. I don't try to lick it. That's what's matter.
And I want it noted that people should not use MDF sawdust to make sawdusto, and nor should they use treated wood to use that sawdust to make sawdusto. And you have to be careful, because if you have reactions to there's certain sawdust out there that on different trees, you know, you're making a project, there's certain trees out there that can give you a reaction if you touch the sawdust and you breathe it in, and you don't want to mess with any kind of sawdust that's going to cause you problems when you make sawdusto. And that's why I like to use pine sawdust on a general note, but you have to look for yourself. Al, it looks like you got something to say.
Yeah. How critical is it to use distilled water versus regular water? So if I ran in there and started making some, but I don't have distilled water, how critical is that?
Okay, it's not that critical. It's more of a preference, and I go back to what Russell said earlier. Is I have created a sawdusto baseline. Like with anything that's made anywhere, there's always a baseline somewhere to build upon and go below. My baseline is natural. Okay, keep it. The tree is natural. The tree is natural. The wood is natural. The sawdust is natural. I like to keep it going. Everything I put into my sawdusto is natural. Saying that, you can use tap water. You can use table salt. You could probably even use other types of flour. You could probably even use different sugars. I just make a baseline.
Carbonated water. I'm sorry.
The distilled water is best because of the fact it's not full of the chlorine and little bits of things. Every city has different water levels of toxicity, like little bits of things that gets into their water. And there's always a list that they send out to the homeowners of what's in their water. Some water is better to drink than other waters, and depending on where you live, your water may not be the best thing to drink. And distilled water is the baseline of, okay, I can use distilled water and I'm not adding chemicals to my sawdusto. So that's where that comes from. You are in a pinch, you want to make it tonight, go grab some some sink water, go ahead and have fun. Make it, even turn it into a project. I'm not saying you can't, but on my end, it's the baseline of keep it natural. That's
Purity.
what we're building upon, so to speak.
Purity.
All right, guys, we're going to close down here.
Okay.
We're at 9:40. So we've done good. Yeah, it's been real good. We had a lot of people out there, a lot of questions, and in the chat, Ox in the Shop, Drew has joined us here at the last minute. Bear Attic Wood Shop. Let's just go back. Oh, let me just go back through Ken McCrory, which I mentioned before. Just highlighting on a few people. Becky's. Why can't I talk tonight? Becky's Texas Wood Shop.
It's the MDF, Russ.
Yeah, it's the MDF is getting to me. Has been out there. All of y'all guys. Wacky Woodworks. Dale Forsyth. Believe that's his name. Dale. Desert Bum Woodworking. Haven't seen James Parker. Dan Ingy. All these guys have been out there. All you guys have been out there. Donna Presley, Katie Dotson, they've been out there. Tracy Keaton. Okay, Tracy Keaton. I'm still here, she says. Yeah, you are. Hey, Tracy, how you doing? She's out there. So, and I haven't forgot it. I've got it right here in my hand. And almost showed what the next week's word is too. So,
what is it?
It is this week's word is development. All right. Development. If you haven't figured it out, we're kind of on a trend here, and it's about my sponsor. We're kind of on a trend here. Hey, they're the ones that's giving away the website. Why wouldn't I want to talk about them?
Do I get to win another one?
No, this is for people that do not have one, Donald. And so there's can't think of his name. There was one guy that is brand new to my show, and he was out there. He was giving some shameless plugs to his show, and a lot of y'all went over there and subscribed to him, which is great. And I can't find his name right now. Keyvera, Keyverra, Keyvera. So he was out there. He said goodnight a while back.
He's got like 30 videos and 278 subs. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, so he's kind of a newbie, so to speak. But anyway, he was out there, and so this is for people that do not have a website, can't afford a website, so to speak, but would like to have one and are getting into what we're doing and having a good time. So, but once again, the secret word, it's not really a secret word. I keep on calling it secret. And somebody pointed out the other day, what's secret about it? You're telling everybody. So yeah, it's not a secret word, but it's the word of the night, the word of the week, the word of whatever you want to call it, is development. 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 Development.
MOUSE.
MOUSE, yeah. So, all right. So that's the word for the night. And then next week we'll have our last word, and then the giveaway. And I'm hoping Frank will be here for the giveaway. That would be really cool. I'm just looking over there to see if anybody's out there. Well, I appreciate it. Everything. Thank you very much, Shelly, for being on and doing this. I mean, it's been fantastic. We've been on for an hour, well, over an hour and a half, but it's very, very informative. Very, very good.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Oh, it was great. And thank you, everybody else, for being on the panel, for Brenda G., Chris Ahern. Some of y'all have been really quiet tonight. Donald, Ken Moon, Al Forte, Paul from Paul's Messy Wood Shop. I think he left us a while back. Yeah.
I was quiet on here. I was busy talking smack in the chat.
Oh, okay. You're busy talking smack.
Donald was talking about lead paint or something like that. I don't know.
Paul's one of those.
She said we weren't what we were allowed to use as far as color and had to be natural. I said I was going to use some lead paint, just break the rules.
Yeah, Paul usually cuts. He's good for up until about 9:30, and then Paul usually cuts out. So he actually, I'm looking over here in the private check, and he go at 9:32. He says, "I got to run. Catch everybody later. Good evening, Russ." So yeah, about 9:30, Paul cuts out. That's okay. I understand. Hey, that's totally no big deal. TJ from TJ's Woodworking Shop.
TJ.
I'd just like to shout out to TJ. You're in my thoughts and prayers, my friend. I know that a tragedy has been going on in your life recently in the last couple of days, and I've been thinking about you, and it's a sad situation. So anybody out there, if you ever need to talk, hey, I'm always around. So just wanted you to know that. So
Love you, TJ.
Yep. But anyway, so thank you everybody for being on here. Thank you everyone for being on or out there in the chat. And I got to get some new AA batteries for my wireless. Yeah, that's what happened. That's the reason I disappeared. The batteries went out on it, and we were talking about that before the chat. So, and you know what? I just went and bought a pack of AAAs, and I thought we had plenty of AAs, and guess what? We don't have AAs. So I'm like, geez. So I got to get some AAs now. But
there you go, thinking again.
Yep. Well, we got one thing left to do, and that is just give me sawdust, lots of sawdust all around me and everywhere. I like it flying all around my shop and even in my beard and hair. Good night, everybody. God bless, and thank you for watching.
Night all.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Remember, you don't have to go home.
Good night,
You can't
guys.
stay here.
Bye.
Good night.
Anybody want a cat?